we're going to do I thought that we'll do a landscape, all right, because landscapes are, you can get away with a lot with a landscape. Unlike painting a pumpkin, it's a little harder, isn't it? But with a landscape, one can get away with certain errors. You'll see what I mean in a moment. What I've done, and you will in a minute find on that table there, a whole bunch of photographs that are of sort of pastoral types of landscapes. In fact, they're all from the west coast of Ireland that I've been taking every time I go there. I go there every year because I teach a workshop there in the summer. Hint, hint. And if you were interested in something like that, you should talk to me. I've picked this one here. But you can see what I've done with it. I've put masking tape around it to try and make it a very long shape, because you're working on a long shape. I mean, most of these are rectangular anyway, but these are very kind of rectangular. So you might want to do that. You don't have to, but I found it really helped for me to sort of see that strip of the landscape, because that is what's going to happen here. And in a few minutes you can go and help yourself to a photograph. Some are doubled, repeated, you know, some, they're all small, one or two are a little bigger. But what they tend to have in common, and I'll walk back here, is they tend to have like a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. This one's actually Minnesota, I realise, interestingly enough. But again, this has a foreground, a middle ground, and a background of the sky. So I tried to find photographs that were mainly to do with that. They weren't to do with more descriptive detail. They're more about big areas of colour. So here's the one I'm going to do. What I'm encouraging us to do is to use this white paint, and I'm putting some out in small containers now, which I guess I could have done earlier, but I've done it now. So we can use this with our oil paint to thicken the oil paint. And I'm looking at this little photograph, and I'm thinking to myself, right, there's a strip of grey up here, then it's lighter, it's blue, there's this kind of shape here. So I'm just going to start throwing the paint in, and I'm throwing some of this onto my palette, and I'm kind of stepping here so you can see. And if you can't see, do get nearer, all right? And I've got out my burnt umber, I've got the ochre out, I've got my yellow, blue, red, I've got all my colours, but mix this in with it. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just mix it in so it keeps this wet and moist and thick, and you can see you can push the paint around. It's very physical. It's not like painting a wall or something. It's really about the physicality of the material of paint. So what I'm doing here is trying to mimic this band here. And this is what I mean about not getting caught up in little details. I try to pick these photographs that don't have small, insignificant detail, because a painting like this doesn't lend itself to doing that. I think that should be a bit darker, but maybe I'll go back to that and start down here a little lower, you know, and pushing it around. You can use your big brush or your small brush, but keep using this white material. It's going to feel a bit odd if you've never painted this thick before. You might think it's wasteful or out of control or something. Don't worry about it. Just push it around. The nice thing about working with white is that the colors tend to work together because they all have this white mixture in it. So the colors sort of work, they unify fairly well until you get perhaps really dark or something. this is much darker, and I'm using a lot of umber down there. But if you watch how I'm using the brush, I don't use it in perhaps ways that people assume painters should be working like this. A brush can be used in any way that you like, and in fact most painters these days don't even use brushes. You know, some people would use maybe a rag to push the paint around, to create some kind of surface, or a rag and the brush. But you can see I keep adding a bit of this to my palette, and I'm trying to build up this shape, and then the next shape, and then the next one. But it's not, you don't have to be really, really careful at first trying to find things. I mean, if you felt very insecure about it, you might want to perhaps just draw out some of the basic areas first. You know, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but this photograph's good because it really breaks down into lots of bands of colour in a way, and tonality. A lot of tonality again. It's always this tonality thing. So this obviously will become darker. This will be a little lighter, but it's more bluish, greenish, bluish. You know, like that. Or but maybe that's too heavy, so I'm going to mix that white into it. That's beautiful. There's something very exciting about thick paint or thick colour next to another colour. This going this way starts to get lighter, which is easy because there's already white paint on the canvas. This is quick and fairly rough, and I'll probably go back into it, but it's just so you can see the freedom that I have working with this. It's very free to do this. It's not, it might seem sloppy, and maybe it is at first, but eventually it tightens down. Eventually you start to home in on the colours better, or the tonalities, or the shapes better. So something like that is starting. Obviously that's going to get much, much darker, and it will. Probably needs a bit more ochre and red. You know, the brown colour and the ochre are beautiful colours to use. Once again, always avoid that black. Always avoid the black. All right. So this is going to get darker, and I'm pushing that. So you're working, once again, wet into wet, and you're getting to enjoy the thickness of the paint and how you can push it around. And if you actually really felt it was out of your control and you couldn't handle it, you can scrape it down and start again. And I'm saying scrape it down because I'm looking for my knife and I can't find it, of course.
Andrew's right there.
Just scrape it all the way down. Thank you. You know, you could think, okay, I'm going to get that off. You know, I don't like that, so I'll put it all off and maybe rework that. Actually, it's rather beautiful, that shape underneath it already. That's fantastic. Isn't that beautiful? I could work with that. I could use that. I could maybe now work around. I know that's the wrong colour, but what I'm trying to encourage you to do is let the painting speak to you a bit instead of you enforcing your own insecurities onto it or whatever we all have. But that's the general gist. So I encourage you to pick a photograph, grab some more of this, get your paints out, plunge in and grab me as you need me. You know, you might think, oh no, I'm too scared. Don't know. Ah, you won't be. You did those pumpkins beautifully. So, any questions?